Hey there, I'm Mark from Spectrum Pulse, and today we finally have from Perfume Genius Glory. Well, it's taken way too long to get to this, especially given the frankly ridiculous track record Mike Hadrius has brought as Perfume Genius for well over a decade. You'd think I'd get to it sooner. And yet I did have a bit of trepidation with this album. I really loved his 2020 project, Set My Heart on Fire Immediately, but it's also not one I return to as often outside of On the Floor being one of his best ever songs, at least compared to Too Bright or No Shape. Perhaps the steps towards a more conventional sound didn't stick as strongly. It's something I've been wrestling with for honestly years now. Whatever the case, 2022 brought Ugly Season, which I actually did hear at the time, but I didn't review that year, mostly because it was intended with a visual modern dance component, and while some of its weirder edges were compelling, it always felt a shade incomplete without exposure to that live element. I never felt like I had enough to work with to do a proper review. So now with Glory, once again working with Blake Mills and the expected critical acclaim, where did we wind up? Well, okay, to the surprise of nobody, it's great. But it also feels like it's continuing the trajectory of Perfume Genius into steadily more conventional singer-songwriter territory, and while much of the magnetism and deft lyricism is still there, I gotta say it, I'm not quite as pulled in as I would like to be. And I think some of that starts off in the content and themes that he's looking to explore, specifically impending grief. His relationship with his partner has been stable and good for a while. He's seen somewhat success. And while Set My Heart on Fire Immediately was rooted in that intense discomfort with experiencing happiness and that steady, intimate exhale, Glory expands that feeling years down the road. He's now able to take a wider lens to the scene, where seemingly for the first time he's able to get out of his own head a little bit more and see a world struggling with much of the same insecurities that he has. As such, there's more empathy. His writing feels more considered, less directly visceral, where the angst and expectation of inevitably losing people, it's still in view, but there's some intellectual distance. It lets him explore his own heated desires on Full On and Capezio and Hanging Out, or how the danger might manifest in a row, where his thought is less of his own safety and more of how it could eventually become compelling poetry or art. And eventually, yeah, there is a calm found in trying to accept things as they are or where they're going, not just in what he can control in his life, but also what he can't. That's more mature, and yeah, it is a similar, slightly more sedentary arc to Set My Heart on Fire Immediately, but the stakes have become a little less gripping as a result. The intensity has diminished, where references to old named characters in passing from previous albums only serves to remind me of some of those visceral moments. Yes, he's grown, he's matured. That's a good thing, but I can't help but feel like something has slipped away. That self-awareness has left him a bit self-conscious about going for broke the way he used to, and it leaves some songs seeming a little underwritten as a result, as his writing style hasn't changed. But this is also translated to the sound. Mike Hadrius has described writing this album with a focus on leaving room for the band, a little reminiscent of what Sharon Van Etten tried with the attachment theory this year, and Blake Mills just nails that ramshackle twang around the guitars that often feel borderline Americana in their choppy warmth. It's a continuation of that sound, and the album starts off really strong in that lane, from the burly clank of It's a Mirror to the gorgeous collaboration with Aldous Harding on No Front Teeth, where after her breathy hook breaks into a country-infused jam that I just love, as Mike Hadrius slips into his rarely used but much appreciated lower register. It's a great compliment. And from there, even as the album softens, like with the reverb jangling patter of Clean Heart and the utterly gorgeous piano ballad for his partner, Me and Angel, that can't help but remind me compositionally of Willie Nelson's Always on My Mind, one of my favorite love songs of all time. So yeah, big compliment. But after such a great opening stretch and the truly gorgeous strums and baroque woodwinds on Full On, an exploration of athletic masculine archetypes that Hadrius just knocks out of the park, and then maybe the fragmented rattling smolder of In a Row that nails the syncopation between the pianos and guitar to keep the tension and then somehow come together and coalesce. Well, there's also some tonal choices that just strike odd notes for me and can't keep up the momentum. That buzzy squonk cutting over Left for Tomorrow, echoed in the keening synth and the guitar tones hanging through the minimalist Hanging Out, the warbling falsetto and meandering outro of Capezio, probably my least favorite song on the album, and then the quietly somber ending that just doesn't land that strongly. It feels weirdly incomplete and diffuse. As such, oh, it's frustrating because the album is great. It deserves acclaim. But I'm sorry, Perfume Genius set himself such a high standard throughout the 2010s that Glory doesn't really measure up to those transcendent heights. It feels a bit safer, leaning on ideas explored better before, and also weirdly smaller and kind of downbeat in the ending as a result. Again, if you haven't heard the album yet, you absolutely should. I think it's excellent, and I genuinely hate the sentiment that when an artist gets more comfortable, the art gets less interesting. In today's climate, which often feels perilous and insecure for artists, especially queer ones, that's the last thing I want to reinforce. But having heard more contemporaries or acts that Perfume Genius has influenced, to say nothing of comparisons to his own catalog, this could have afforded to be more, well, glorious. That's all. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. I gotta be honest, I know this review is going to come across as more negative than it probably should, and that breaks my heart a little because this album is excellent. I highly recommend it. The opening stretch is phenomenal. But the thing is that when you have Put Your Back Into It and Too Bright and No Shape and even Set My Heart on Fire Immediately, you set yourself a standard that's transcendent. This being merely great, it's a bit of a small step down, I'm gonna say it. Beyond that though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. If y'all have comments on where you think this lies in his catalog, hey, comment section, have fun down there below. But hey, if you want to take this more directly to me, yell at me on my Discord, or just support the channel, or get albums on my schedule so I'm not covering this so late, link to my Patreon and YouTube memberships is right over there. Once again, don't feel obligated, as again implied in this review, tough times are out there, I understand, but the option's available. Till then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.